Hi there, my name is Kaylee Koozer. I am the holistic nutritionist at Ace Integrative Health, and today I'm going to show you a lot of the basics about smoothies. So you might find a lot of smoothie videos from us, and you might be wondering kind of what goes into the perfect smoothie, what equipment you need, if you need to use, frozen fruit, fresh fruit, whatever. And so we're going to go over all of that stuff so that you can figure out how to make the perfect smoothie at home and figure out the most efficient, effective way to do it for yourself. So first off, I want to talk about the ratios of a perfect smoothie. This not only comes from my years of making smoothies, but I also worked in a smoothie shop for a while and really figured out how to make the perfect texture. So you want to start out with about a cup of liquid, and this is for roughly a 16-ounce smoothie, which is one serving for me, and probably one serving for most of you. So you want to do 1 cup, so that's 8 ounces of liquid. You can use a non-dairy milk, you can use juice, you can use water, you can use whatever you prefer. I would stick to low sugar juices like green juice if you want to add juice, just so you're not overwhelming the smoothie with sugar. Even fruit sugar, you don't want to overdo it, so just be watchful there. And then non-dairy milk is really great because it makes it creamy and makes it a little bit thicker. Next, you're going to want 2 cups of fruit, and I would do frozen fruit. You can also do frozen avocado if you want it to be really low sugar, and that'll make it super creamy, but you do have to be careful because it gets really fluffy, so that's not going to be a good drink with a straw kind of smoothie. You will probably need a spoon. So I would go with frozen fruit more than fresh fruit, just because you'll have to ice it down and it will get like really either runny or you'll have too much volume if you add ice. So frozen fruit really makes the perfect ratios, the perfect creaminess in my experience. Another thing that people are super curious about is like, what add-ins do you want to put in your smoothie? So some people like to add protein. I personally don't love the flavor, but I'll have a protein shake on the side of my smoothie just because I want that protein to help me get through the day. I personally lift weights, I'm very active, so I do need quite a bit of protein. You can add protein to your smoothies, it's just not my favorite. So I recommend that you try it without, and see what works for you. And then next, I like to add some sort of seeds all the time. I usually do 1 to 2 tablespoons of seeds, so you can do chia seeds, you can do flax seeds. I prefer ground flax seeds, so I grind them at home in my blender and then stick them in the fridge or the freezer so they don't go bad. That just keeps them fresher, keeps the nutrient content higher. You can always use a nut butter, so I have sunflower seed butter here. I love sunflower seed butter as a healthy alternative to peanut butter. And you can also use almond butter, cashew butter, peanut butter if it works well with your body. Some people don't respond very well to it. Then I also like to add things like ginger to my smoothies. Ginger is amazing for helping your digestion. Just be really aware of the flavors you're using because it won't always mix with everything, but ginger grows great with like mango and pineapple smoothies. And then another thing that you're going to want to do is add 1 to 2 cups of greens if you're using greens. That seems to be a really good ratio. You can use stuff like baby spinach. I like to use mixed greens. This one is called Power Greens, and this contains like kale, spinach. I believe it has like chard, so chard, mizuna, kale, and spinach in this one. You can use really any blend of greens that you prefer, but that's totally optional. I like to do it because it makes it easier to squeeze in my servings of veggies for the day, and if you don't have to sit there chewing forever, that's a huge time saver. So another thing that a lot of people are curious about is what equipment to use. So personally, I use a Vitamix blender. I've had this for 5 years and I love it. You can also get a cheaper blender. Vitamixes are a little bit on the higher end for price. They will last you a long time, but if you're just getting started, you can get a perfectly good blender for $25, $50, maybe $70, and it'll still be super great at blending your smoothies and making an awesome breakfast. So another question that you might be having is, what is this and do you need it? So this is basically just like a tamp attachment. It's super helpful if you are mixing up greens in your smoothie, or you have little chunks that aren't quite getting down there. You can just kind of use this to tap stuff down, but it's not necessary. You can use just a regular lid on a blender. You don't really need that. And these are also super handy. I mean, lids that have a little piece that comes out. because if you need to add in liquid while you're blending, you can just pull that off, add it in, and you don't have to worry about stopping it, turning it off, and all that. Another thing is the size of your blender. Do you need a 2 quart like this? Do you need 1 quart? Do you need smaller, bigger, whatever? This is what I use at home for the most part, and this is huge. It's way bigger than I need, to be honest. I could get by with something like this. I do love this because when I add a lot of greens, it can handle the volume and I don't have to do, multiple blend down and add in kind of cycles. But you can even use something like this, or you can use the smaller, like single serving blenders. It's gonna look like a cup, about 16 ounces, and you can throw everything into there, stick it on, blend it, and those work perfectly good too. It all depends on kind of what you want and what you're needing. If you're making smoothies for multiple people, then a bigger size like this might be really helpful for you. So then another topic I wanted to go over is antioxidants. So I mentioned antioxidants in some other videos that I've done, so if you want to learn more about antioxidants, feel free to check out our channel and see some more of that. But as a general rule, if you're wondering which foods have the most antioxidants, I would encourage you to look at the darker, more pigmented fruits. So we've got mango here, we've got pineapple. These are both awesome, and they're full of antioxidants and vitamins and all sorts of great nutrients. But if you're really wanting that super strong antioxidant power, I would go more for anything that's darker, like these mixed berries. Even, the blueberries and the blackberries are going to have more than the raspberries. They're going to have more than the strawberries. Other things like acai, goji berries, camu, those are all things that you can find. And kind of the more obscure sections are going to be by like dried fruit and stuff in the store. Those are super high in antioxidants too, and they're great additives to smoothies. I like to use this as an example. If I'm looking at 2 apples, and I see this apple or this apple, I'm probably going to reach for this one just because there's so much more color here. It's going to have a higher concentration of antioxidants, and as a result, it's probably going to have more flavor. So this one's probably going to be a little bit sweeter than this apple. You can do the same thing when you're looking at all sorts of different vegetables, whether it's a cucumber or it's a green pepper or whatever it is you're looking at. Look for the ones that are really concentrated in color. No problem. One other question that a lot of people have is, isn't it kind of time consuming to throw together your smoothies? So if that's a concern that you have, first off, it really only takes a couple minutes to throw together a smoothie, and that's even if you are pulling everything out of your freezer and, scooping out a spoon or a measuring cup of everything. But if you really want to make everything super, super expedited, if you're super busy on the go and you need to throw together your breakfast in seconds, what I recommend doing is taking some Ziploc bags or some little containers and pre-measuring everything for the week. So you can take 7 Ziploc bags and then put 2 cups of fruit. You can throw in a couple tablespoons of seeds into a Ziploc bag. And then every morning all you have to do is pull out your blender, pour your liquid in the blender, dump a Ziploc bag into the blender and mix it up. And then what I do is I throw the Ziploc bag back in my freezer so that I can reuse it for the next week's meal prep. But you can do whatever you want. You can even wash it out or whatever. But it's a super, super effective way to make the whole process really speedy so that you don't have to take the time to measure everything out every morning. You just get up, you dump it in, you blend it, and you go. So that's something that I highly recommend you try if you're just getting started or you're really, really low on time. So to recap what a perfect smoothie is, we're going to go over the ratios here. So in my opinion and from my experience, the perfect smoothie is going to start with 1 cup, so that's 8 ounces of non-dairy milk, coconut water, or a low sugar juice like green juice. If you're wondering what I mean by non-dairy milk, I'm referring to milk like coconut milk. I always go for the unsweetened version so there's no added sugar. You can use oat milk, which is amazing. It's super creamy. Oats are awesome because they are great for actually boosting your immune system and they're high in fiber. You can also use almond milk, you could use rice milk, you could use cashew milk. There are all sorts of non-dairy milks to choose from, so just find what works for you, find what you like the flavor of the best. Again, you could use like coconut water. I would recommend unsweetened coconut water, but that does add sort of a tropical flavor to your smoothies as well. And then you can add 1 to 2 tablespoons of a seed, which is going to add healthy fats, protein, and fiber to your smoothies. So chia seeds are fantastic. They're so high in omega-3s. Flax seeds are awesome too. I like to use ground flaxseed just because it blends up a little bit better. You can add a couple tablespoons of nut butter, like sunflower seed butter, peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, whatever flavor you like the best, whatever works with your body. And that'll add a super creamy texture to it as well. And then if you're like me and you love greens in your smoothie, I would add 1 to 2 cups or just a couple big handfuls of greens into your smoothie. And then every smoothie that you make, you're going to want to add 2 cups of frozen fruit to it. So I recommend frozen fruit because it's going to give it that icy, cool, thick texture. If you add fresh fruit, it might get really runny and watery. So for the ideal texture, I would recommend frozen fruit. You could do a little bit of fresh fruit and ice, but that might affect the flavor. It might affect the texture a little bit. So I say the safest bet is to stick with frozen fruit. If you do want to add anything for a little extra sweetness, you could add a tiny, tiny bit of stevia or a tiny, tiny bit of honey if you need it. But most of the time, it's going to be plenty sweet with frozen fruit and your non-dairy milk and everything. You can also add a scoop of unflavored or flavored protein powder. I recommend plant-based protein powder like pea protein, brown rice protein, pumpkin seed protein. Hemp protein is really good too. So whatever suits your fancy, whatever works best for your body, I would kind of explore what flavors you like best, how they digest for you. But yeah, play around with it. I personally don't love protein powder in my smoothies, especially if it's a fruit smoothie. If it's like a banana smoothie with nut butter, I can handle a little bit of protein, but for the more tropical ones, I don't love it. So I usually do a protein shake on the side. So for that, I would just do a scoop of protein and then some more non-dairy milk and just shake it up and drink that so that I do get that boost of protein too. I hope that you found this video really informative. If you have any more questions or you would like to learn more about making smoothies, feel free to check out our other videos or leave a comment on this video so we can maybe get back to you and answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much.